A condo can look perfectly fine on showing day and still turn into an $80,000 mistake later. Because in Vancouver, some of the biggest condo buying problems have nothing to do with the unit itself. They come from the building, the reserve fund, strata minutes, the insurance, leaks, levies, and all the warning signs most buyers never really learn how to read. So before you buy a condo because you like the layout, the finishes, or the price, I want to show you 7 red flags that can tell you the building is a real problem. So that when you show up on showing day, within 60 seconds, you will know whether this is a failing condo. And be sure to stay for the 7th red flag. I saved the best for last, and I see this all the time in the market right now. Number 1, special levies keep hitting the owners. This is probably the most immediate and most painful red flag. A special levy is basically the building coming back to owners saying, we need money and we need it now. Maybe it's the roof, the parkade, maybe the windows, emergency plumbing work. I'm sure you've heard it all before. One levy on its own doesn't automatically mean the building is broken. Buildings need repairs, and that's normal. But the problem is when levies keep happening over and over and over. Because at that point, you're not looking at bad luck, you are looking at a building that may be under saving, under planning, or allowing maintenance problems to pile up until they become urgent. And for buyers, this means 2 things. First, you could inherit a building culture where surprise bills are just part of ownership, which sucks. And second, repeated levies often mean that there are more costs coming after the ones you already know about. So if you see a history of levies, don't just ask how much was the last one, ask why do these keep happening? Why is the maintenance continuing to be deferred and waiting until the thing blows up and is a big issue? Why the strata is not funding the contingency reserve fund so that they can pay for the repairs from their savings instead of asking all the owners. All right, number 2, recurring water leaks and moisture problems. Water is one of the scariest condo issues because it can start small, hide well, and get expensive fast. One isolated leak can happen in almost any building. A dishwasher line fails, a tub overflows, a pipe bursts. These things happen. But when the same building keeps dealing with leaks, moisture, intrusion, or building envelope concerns, that is a totally different story. That can point to a pattern of aging plumbing, poor waterproofing, envelope problems, bad past repairs, bad maintenance that's falling behind. Water problems rarely travel alone. They can lead to mold concerns, repeated insurance claims, damaged common property, repair delays, and fights for who pays for what. And all of these things add up and they cost you, the owner, money. The province's strata guidelines specifically flags water leaks as one of the emergencies strata owners and corporations need to be ready for. And BCFSA's review of the strata insurance market found that frequent lower cost claims, especially water damage claims, were the major pressure on premiums and deductibles. So even if the claim is very low, as it relates to water, if it keeps happening, they can be the biggest impact on how much you're paying strata insurance. And when you look at the strata's budget, the strata insurance makes up a huge part of it. So your strata fees, where they should be paying for the operation and maintenance of the building, is now going to an overpriced insurance premium. So the key takeaway is simple. One leak might be a one-off. Multiple leaks in one building are a pattern until proven otherwise. Number 3, strata fees keep rising, but the building still looks rough. This one hits people emotionally because it feels totally unfair. Owners are paying more every month. The hallways still look tired. Maintenance still feels reactive. And the same issues keep coming up. Where the heck is your money going? Now, to be fair, higher strata fees are not always bad. Sometimes a building is finally getting serious about funding things properly. Sometimes a higher strata fee might mean less special levies, which means less surprises for you as an owner. In BC, strata fees are tied to an approved budget, which the strata has to approve every single year. And the strata corporation has to contribute at least 10% of the annual operating fund to the contingency reserve fund, which is the strata's savings account. So sometimes fees rise simply because the real costs of running the building have gone up, or because the strata is trying to save more responsibly. And we do see a small increase in strata fees every single year, and typically this is just due to regular inflation. Things are getting more expensive. The cost to get repairs, trades, materials in is increasing every single year. So this is normal within reason. The red flag really happens when the strata fees go up and owners still don't seem to get ahead. This can suggest poor budgeting, weak cost control, deferred maintenance, or building that is constantly plugging holes instead of solving the root problem. For a buyer, if you're looking to purchase a stratified property, a condo, a townhome, the question isn't just, oh, what are my strata fees today? The real question is, what am I actually getting for them? And are they enough? Number 4, the strata minutes are full of the same complaints. This is where the real story often shows up. A building can show beautifully in person and still look terrible on paper. I see this all the time. And this is because a beautiful lobby doesn't tell you what the owners have been complaining about for 18 months. It doesn't tell you the elevator keeps failing, or that there are repeated noise disputes, security incidents, management frustrations, and then ongoing repair debates that never seem to end. BC. So then you might be asking, how am I supposed to know what's going on, the inner workings of the strata? What are people actually talking about? Well, in BC, the buyer paperwork matters for exactly this reason. The province guidance says purchasers should review relevant strata documentation, and BCFSA's standard strata document language highlights not just the Form B, which is an important strata document that you need to be reading, but also the meeting minutes. This shows the everyday, what's going on, what people are complaining about, what issues keep coming up, because stratas typically meet every single month and they have to document every single meeting. On top of this, it's important to review the current insurance cover because that will show what kind of insurance claims if they have been repeated year after year after year. So when you read the minutes, don't just read them like a formality. Read them like a pattern detector. You really want to see patterns that things that keep showing up month after month, year after year. Are the same issues showing up again and again? Are repairs being discussed but just keep getting delayed or pushed off, or maybe not even brought up ever again? Are owners frustrated? Is the council constantly in a crisis? Because repeated complaints usually means the issue is not isolated. It is part of how the building is operated. And you're not just buying your unit, you're buying into a corporation, you're buying into the strata. You're going to inherit all of their problems if they have them. All right, number 5, insurance problems in the building. This one is one of the most overlooked red flags because most buyers don't even think about insurance until something goes wrong. But insurance companies are constantly pricing risk. So when a building has repeated claims, high deductibles, rising premiums, or reduced coverage, it tells you something. In BC, strata insurance deductibles can range from $100,000 to $750,000 or even more, depending on the building and its claims history. That is not a small number. And owners may need their own coverage to protect against being charged back deductibles in certain cases. So the higher the deductibles of the strata insurance, the higher premiums you need to pay for your own personal insurance. And ultimately, you can look at the owner getting hit twice. First, through higher monthly costs, premium-wise, like I just mentioned, but second, through much bigger financial exposure when something actually happens. This is why insurance documents matter so much. So since April 1st, 2023, a summary of the Strata Corporation's insurance coverage must be included with the Form B. And BCFSA also notes that buyers often need the current insurance summary or the insurance cover note showing all the coverage, the limits, the dates, and deductibles so that they can bring that to their own insurance broker and really have a professional look at it, see if everything is in line, it makes sense, and make sure you're getting the right policy, the right personal insurance for you. So the simple rule is if the insurance companies are nervous about the building, buyers should not be casual about it either. That's a huge red flag. Number 6, big repairs are coming, but there is barely any money saved. This is the quiet red flag that can explode tomorrow before your very eyes. A condo can look perfectly fine today and still be heading towards major costs. I see this over and over and over again. Because roofs age, pipes age, elevators age, windows age, waterproofing systems, parkades, all of these things will get older as the building gets older. That is normal. The question is not whether these things will wear out. The question should be whether the building has even planned for it. In BC, contingency reserve funds exist for common expenses that happen less often than once a year, like replacing a roof, upgrading an elevator, or repaving the shared lot of the strata. The province now requires at least 10% annual contribution from the operating fund into the CRF, but that minimum doesn't magically mean the building has enough fund. The province now requires at least 10% annual contribution from the operating fund into the CRF. But that minimum doesn't magically mean the building has enough money for major or future work. So reviewing the finances, seeing that they have a minimum 10% or a big number in the CRF doesn't mean automatically that it's a good thing. You really need to see what the money is for, how it's going to be distributed, to really determine whether they have enough. Because $1 million in a CRF doesn't mean anything if you have 5 million in repairs coming up in the next couple years. This is where a depreciation report is really important. The province says strata corporations with 5 or more lots must obtain depreciation reports on a 5-year cycle. And these reports are meant to show what repair and replacement work is likely coming, what it might cost, and when it might happen. So the danger zone is when a report points to a major upcoming work, but the reserve fund is weak and the building doesn't even appear to have a proper funding plan. This is when it gets really scary, because when I see these things, I just wonder, where is this money going to come from? Are they just going to let the building fall apart, or are they just going to hammer the owners for a huge lump sum of money so they can do these repairs? This is how buyers walk into a condo that looks perfect on day one and then receives a brutal levy 1 year later. Don't be that guy or gal. All right, number 7, and this is the one that I see so much in today's market and is an extremely important red flag to notice. Too many owners are trying to sell at the same time. This is the social proof red flag. If a bunch of owners in the same building are trying to sell at once, the first question is obvious. What do they know that I don't? Now, there can be innocent reasons. Maybe the market has shifted. Maybe a lot of investors bought at the same time. Maybe a building just happens to have several life changes happening all at once. But when a wave of listings show up alongside repair concerns, or talks of a special levy, insurance issues, or minutes that are just a disaster, that is when it starts to feel less random and that there are some real reasons behind why these owners are selling. Sometimes owners are not just selling because they want to, they're selling because they see the bill coming before the new buyers do. And that's why this red flag works so well. It's a final check. It's not proof on its own, but it's a signal to dig deeper. See what the people who live in the building know. So the bigger point really tying all of this together is condo risk is not often visible inside of the unit. It is buried in the documents, the budgets, claim histories, and long-term maintenance planning. The hidden risks are not just the building needs work. The hidden risks are things like repairs that are known but underfunded, the complaints that are recurring, the insurance that is getting worse, and owners who know the building best, and they're the ones heading for an exit. That is why buyers who only shop by kitchen finishes, price per square foot, and monthly payments can get totally blindsided. So what should buyers actually do? First of all, get access to all of the strata documents. BC, that means paying close attention to the Form B, the budget, the CRF, depreciation reports, other engineering reports, insurance information, and meeting minutes. Second, when you're looking at these things, don't check to see whether there's a problem. I mean, obviously check if there's a problem, but also make sure to see if there are any patterns. One leak is different than recurring leaks, and one levy is fine, but if there are repeated levies over and over again, that's a huge red flag. Third is compare the contingency reserve fund to the repair timeline. Don't just look at a big number and think that everything's okay. You gotta see whether it's enough to sustain the building and for how long. Or else you might get caught with that $10,000 bill that you didn't even budget for. Number 4, study insurance deductibles. This one's easy. Take it to your insurance broker. Make sure that you can get a good plan. And then 5th, leverage your professionals. So make sure you're using a good realtor, a good mortgage broker, your inspector that you have going through the home. These guys are in your corner. They're gonna help you make the right decision, especially when it comes to older buildings or buildings that are a little bit more nuanced. And 6th, the most important one is be willing to walk away. In condo buying, discipline is often more valuable than optimism. And I tell my buyers all the time, I can get you a really good deal. You just have to be willing to walk away from it if it doesn't work. And the buyers who win in this market aren't the ones who fall in love the fastest. They are the ones who do the best investigation. So if you have any questions about buying a home here in Vancouver, let me know. If I missed anything critical, leave it in the comments. And be sure to check out this video where I tell you why you should never buy a condo and who actually should. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace.